As we progress closer and closer to the new NBA season, the Raptors slowly are now facing this impossible decision where they won't want to have a repeat of the disastrous decision they made last season. Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans to Amateur Hour Sports. This is a channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors at least 4 days a week. That is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. This is your Monday episode where we're talking about the impossible decision the Toronto Raptors are facing. So if you like what you see from today's video and want more of myself talk about the NBA and the Raptors and videos and content just like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below to show support to the channel on a road to 6,000 subscribers. Really mean a lot if you did. You can also check out all the other platforms that we have for Twitch streams, Twitch highlights, and vlogging content. Links in the description for that. But let's get down to business for today's video, talking about the impossible decision that the Raptors are facing. And the decision that we do need to make is roster cuts. Every year you get to this point where there are tons of talented players who are fighting for a very limited amount of spots on your roster. You got 15 guys that you have for your NBA roster, and the rest unfortunately have to get cut. And the Raptors are in this position right now where if everything goes to as we expect, the Raptors will have 3 roster spots remaining for 5 different players. Those 5 players are Isaac Bonga, Sam Dekker, Ishmael Wainwright, Yuta Watanabe, and Freddie Gillespie. And the reason that the Raptors are facing such an impossible decision is that normally I would say that in many scenarios you just kind of cut guys and go, okay, simply not good enough. But there are a lot of situations where you are in an unfortunate position where you do have to get rid of talent that you wouldn't normally want to get rid of. And we are in this current situation right now with the Toronto Raptors. And the reason we are in much more of a high stakes situation with this than normal is because it went so poorly last season when it came down to this decision. The Raptors made the horrible decision. We didn't know it at the time, but they made the horrible decision of waiving Oshae Brissett. Oshae Brissett left. Honestly, didn't really miss him. I didn't think that he offered very much with the Raptors in the limited spells that I saw him play for the Raptors in mostly garbage time situations. Sure, there were some good things about his game, but ultimately I didn't think he had any space on the roster. So for the 15-man roster, I was like, okay, I can understand why they cut him. You know, it was nice to have a Canadian player on the team like him, but ultimately it's a business. You got to get rid of players. And I thought that one of the biggest problems with the Raptors last season, and I didn't notice it at the time, but I felt like right before we made those cuts, we had 18 certified, like proper NBA players on our team. I did recognize that, wasn't very a top-heavy team. We didn't have a lot of bench, like early bench. But as far as like the full 18 we had 18 proper NBA players, yet the Raptors struggled so much, and much of their struggles came because the Raptors simply did not have a good enough bench. There weren't reliable players coming off the bench. I mean, every game we had to have somebody like Stanley Johnson or Alex Len or Paul Watson, and the list goes on, of players who weren't really reliable on a day in, day out basis that we had to give so many minutes. I don't want a repeat of that this season. And the problem is, we're looking at it now in hindsight, but Oshae Brissett leaves the Raptors and ends up absolutely tearing it up with the Indiana Pacers. And as a result, Raptors fans are left wondering, why did we cut this guy? Why did we cut this guy? But truthfully, at the time, with so many good players to choose from, there was no space for him. I don't see the practices, and I don't know what Oshae Brissett displayed in those practices. Perhaps Oshae Brissett needed that sort of fire lit under him where, okay, I have to get better to play in the NBA. And he just needed that sort of encouragement after getting cut to really start grinding, really start focusing. Or we could chalk it up to just a complete mistake from the Toronto Raptors. So the reason it is much more high stakes is because the Raptors are on a route to recovery here. They want to be a lot better than they were last season. So we can't mess up the decisions here as it comes to our roster. And there are 5 players, 5 certified, I think, good NBA players that we can choose from this scenario. We have to pick 3 and cut 2. So let's go through all the players one by one, kind of decipher where their role is going to be or where their role may not be. So Isaac Bonga is a player who, has some potential after getting drafted in the second round. I think the key selling piece for Bonga is, 6'8", 6'9", decent wingspan, two-way player, decent ball handler. Maybe hasn't shown a lot on offense so far in his NBA career. Has played with the Wizards, has played with the Lakers. Never really showcased much of an offensive threat, but he does have some sort of potential in terms of his ball handling ability, and he is still a very young player. So potentially something to work with there. Sam Dekker has also been signed from Europe to maybe see if he can make the team through camp. He's more of an outside shooter, hasn't really showcased any sort of lights out shooting in the NBA so far, has spent the last few years playing in Europe. Maybe he's changed something there that will allow him to really add something to the Raptors. Sam Dekker, unfortunately, is most known for basically falling over trying to take a layup for the Rockets and having the ball hit him in the face. But no, there is still a decent player behind that. Ishmael Wainwright, the only reason I really know him is because he was playing for us in Summer League, and he was great in Summer League. Ishmael Wainwright is a player who absolutely loves playing defense, and you can see that in most of the games in Summer League. Also looked like a good outside threat. Some of the games, not so much, but playing in Africa right now, he's showcasing some decent stuff there. Maybe he can get himself a spot on the roster. Next player, we all know him very well, Yuta Watanabe. I think that Yuta Watanabe showcased some good stuff last season for the Raptors. Has to clean up the three-point game a little bit. I think can be a little bit sharper from three-point range, but we know what kind of IQ and defensive ability he has on that side of the ball. Can we get him better on the offensive end shooting-wise? And can he be more aggressive with his touches on offense? That's what I need to see from Yuta Watanabe. And then the last player of the five, Freddie Gillespie, who was completely horrid in Summer League. I mean, I was expecting Freddie Gillespie to be possibly a backup center this season, but in Summer League, really showcased a complete lack of talent. I don't know if that was jitters. I don't know if that's just Freddie Gillespie actually doesn't have any talent, and watching him instead of watching Aaron Baines last season, just anything looked good if it wasn't Aaron Baines last year. So maybe that's where it kind of came for Freddie Gillespie. But I thought he had a sure spot on this roster, not after Summer League, which made me make the video of Freddie Gillespie's Raptors career is over. But maybe not over just yet, because we don't have a third center. Maybe you can slot in Chris Boucher, but I would say I'd like to have 3 certified bigs on the roster to feel comfortable in case of injury. So for that reason, maybe he's still got a spot for now, but in the next few months, I can easily see us replacing him. But in the current situation, maybe we do need 3 centers. So looking at the 5, immediately I'm going to say Yuta Watanabe has to make this roster. And the only reason he wouldn't make this roster is that potentially Svi Myhailiuk is going to replace him in that position of sort of the bench shooter. Svi Myhailiuk is probably a better shooter than Yuta Watanabe, doesn't have the defensive ability that Yuta does, but maybe, with a team that already has so many good defensive players that the Raptors have, you don't really need that. You need to prioritize the shooting aspect of the game. So for that reason, Yuta might struggle to make the roster, but ultimately I think he has well more talent than a lot of these guys on the list. So Yuta Watanabe is certified on this roster, which leaves 2 more spots available for Bonga, Dekker, Gillespie, as well as Ishmael Wainwright. Now, I'm going to go to Gillespie immediately. I think a lot of you guys would be considering letting go of Gillespie, and I'm honestly considering it. The next guy that I feel like comfortably should make this roster is Ishmael Wainwright. Now, again, we don't really know what goes on in the offseason camps or who's playing well in those offseason camps, but based on what I have seen from Ishmael Wainwright, I have certainly been a fan. Loves playing defense, is a very good defensive specialist you can bring off the bench. Does he have the skills on the other end of the ball when he's playing offense? Does he have the skills on this side of the game to make the NBA? I feel like he's shown enough from three-point land in those Summer League games to warrant giving him a chance in the NBA. I am going to put him on my roster, second guy there, which leaves 1 spot remaining for 3 different players, Isaac Bonga, Sam Dekker, and Freddie Gillespie. And ultimately, I don't think I like enough from Sam Dekker to bring him into the team. I think we'd bring him in as a shooter, but we just brought in Svi Myhailiuk, and we already have Yuta Watanabe based on my assessment. So Sam Dekker, I'm going to rule out immediately from making that final roster spot, which brings us to Bonga and Gillespie. As it comes to Freddie Gillespie, I'm not really concerned if he gets cut because of how horrid he was in the Summer League, but I would like that backup center solidified. But if we have plans to get a backup center, like maybe we go trade Goran Dragic for Moses Brown, that would mean Freddie Gillespie has absolutely no place on this roster. So you'd obviously go for Bonga in that scenario. And I feel like the Raptors are going to be working towards trading Goran Dragic. So maybe we could use another guard off the bench. But ultimately, I don't think Bonga is good enough to play night in, night out. I think that there is potential there that the Raptors development team can work with to make a serviceable backup point guard. Maybe not the first backup point guard, but one you can have on your bench. One in that like DeLon Wright role where he's the third choice point guard. Sometimes he's got to get in and he's got to perform a role, but he's not going to be like consistent, 20, 25 minutes a game. But I think in this scenario, if there is a decision between Bonga and Gillespie, I feel like I want to give Bonga the opportunity to showcase what he can after getting drafted in the second round, 39th overall, I believe. I think there is a little bit of untapped potential that the Raptors can work with here and get him to a level where he can participate in true NBA games. At only about 21 years old, Bonga has the opportunity to prove something. And I think that if the offseason camp has gone well for him, the Raptors should give him a chance, because Freddie Gillespie absolutely got his opportunity, was decent when he first came into the Raptors, fell off a little bit, but to me, I don't think he's quite done enough to warrant a place in this roster. He was just so pathetically bad in the summer. Like so bad. Like, if you know, poor performances happen, but not to the degree of Freddie Gillespie. Like, if you want to take a look at his summer league stats, here they are right here. Couldn't shoot, couldn't defend, barely got rebounds. There wasn't a lot to like about Gillespie's game. For that reason, I'm going to give Bonga the spot. So of the five of Bonga, Decker, Wainwright, Watanabe, and Gillespie, if three have to make the roster from that, I'm going to go with Yuta all day, and I'm going to go with Ishmael Wainwright as well as Isaac Bonga for the roster. I want to hear all of your guys' picks of those five. Let me know in the comments, which three of those players do you think should make the cut for the Raptors? So that wraps up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, be sure to hit that like button. It really goes a long way to supporting the channel, and consider subscribing to this channel on our road to 6,000 subscribers. Here's a bunch of other links you can check out. In the top right corner is a button to subscribe to this channel. In the bottom left and right corner, it is the other channels for Amateur Sports, our vlog channel, Amateur TV, where 2 videos are going out this week, as well as our Twitch highlight channel, Amateur Hour Clips, where we post a video every single day of the week. And here in the top left corner is another video that you may enjoy. Be sure to check that out if you want, and I'll see you again next time for another video.